Welcome back to another episode of Nerdtooine and a Movie Podcast. This is your host, Nerdpool Prime. I do apologize for it being later than usual. I wasn't feeling too good last night, so I didn't get a chance to record. And then when I tried to get everything set up today, my computer decided that I needed to do some updates, which took hours. So we're a little bit behind, but have no fear. We're here to give you some awesome nerdy content. We're going to start with some news, and I'm not going to do a breakdown of WandaVision, the series finale, like I usually do. I might do that later, but I really just kind of summed up my feelings of the show and some of the theories that went by the wayside, and one that's still very, very, very much alive that I made. So, we'll start with some news. According to Nintendo Direct presentation, they announced today that the Nintendo Switch is going to be getting a 35-year anniversary of the historic Zelda franchise. They're releasing Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword to the release. It's a remake that's going to be on the Switch. They're also going to be paired with these special controllers. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword Joy-Cons have already sold out from Best Buy and GameStop, and they are now available on Amazon for $79.99, so get them while you can. They sold out from the other two retailers, and Amazon probably would be sold out too if they weren't delayed in getting it up there. So definitely, if you're interested, you better hurry up and grab that. Now, when we talked about the Mandalorian episodes prior, Bo-Katan, played by Katie Sackhoff, she is a huge Star Wars fan, and so is her father. And she's always, enjoyed Star Wars. And, in the series, Luke and Bo meet in the final scenes, but the actors didn't actually meet. Max Lloyd-Jones was the person who was the stand-in for Luke when they shot the episode, and Katie Sackhoff actually said that she didn't even know who the character was supposed to be until she watched the episode. Katie Sackhoff obviously voiced Bo-Katan in the Clone Wars, then reprised her role in the live-action Mandalorian. Sackhoff opened up recently about bringing her dad on set. She confirmed that her dad was on set when they shot that big Luke reveal scene. She said, yes, although we never got to meet Hamill himself, hashtag one day. And then, of course, Mark Hamill, being who he is, Mark Hamill posted, responded to it, said, it would be such a pleasure to meet you one day. It is our destiny. And he's just an amazing person. He commented on other people's posts who were saying that they wanted to meet him, how much of an inspiration. He's just a really great person. So this didn't surprise me at all, but I do like the fact that the original OG is now kind of fanboying himself out a little bit. He gets to enjoy being a fan of Star Wars while still contributing here and there. So that's a good thing for him. He's always been such a great person, so it's nice to see him getting to do that. Marvel has announced that there's going to be a new limited series that will debut in June. The limited series will feature 4 generations of Captain America. The new miniseries will be called The United States of Captain America. Writer Christopher Cantwell and artist Dale Eaglesham will team up for the new series. Cantwell is known for his work on Iron Man and Doctor Doom, as Eaglesham is for his work on Hulk and Fantastic Four. According to Marvel, the series will celebrate the character's incredible legacy by bringing together various Captain Americas from throughout the years for a grand adventure to find Captain America's missing shield and solve the mystery of his masked thief's plan. Cantwell said, it's an incredible gift and definitely a creative challenge to take on the character of Captain America, especially during these unprecedented times in our country's history. With the miniseries, we're hoping to explore what the idea of Captain America means at this precise moment, not just on the grand stage of the world, but to everyday and often overlooked communities throughout the United States. Captain America is one of those characters that I don't always root for in the comics. The MCU version, obviously, Chris Evans is unbelievable, and he did such a great job, so I'm definitely in his corner there. But in the comics, he's kind of like Superman for me. He's just too good. I don't really like the guys that are like always on the side of right. That's why like the times where I do love Captain America is like in the Marvel Civil War when he was kind of the villain. even though he wasn't really a villain, he was pitted as that for the series. So I really enjoyed that. But this sounds interesting because they're going across the country. It's definitely like a road trip story according to what I read. And it seems like there's going to be, it's going to look at how people see Captain America and use his symbol in their own communities. And as America is such a diverse country, it's definitely going to spawn some really interesting renditions of celebrating the character. So that's going to be interesting to see. And, you know, there are a lot of things brewing in the comic book industry. Of course, you have the DC and Marvel always releasing all the superhero content, but the indie titles, like Image Comics and Boom Studios, even some like Source Point Press, they're putting out some amazing content right now. And if I didn't mention a specific company, doesn't mean I don't read their stuff, but indies nowadays are just as good, if not better, than the Marvel and the DC runs. Be honest, like my favorite comic right now, and I'll talk about this later, is Radiant Black, which is an Image comic, and it's what my new favorite comic for real. I do enjoy like the Star Wars content that Marvel and IDW is releasing, but for the most part, the Marvel and DC runs have been lackluster comparing to the indies that I've seen and I'm reading currently. So if you're interested in comics, you don't have to only be a Marvel or a DC or even just an indie. Enjoy all the content you can. I mean, I enjoy Marvel, I enjoy DC, I enjoy the indies. It's always good to diversify your content. Therefore, you have a better frame of reference to not necessarily rate, but to genuinely enjoy or to genuinely summarize whether you like it or not. If you're just reading one type of comic, then of course your judgment will be skewed to that one comic. Like there are people who only read Batman and that's all they know is Batman. And while I love Batman, there are a lot of great DC characters, even in the Bat family, that I would read more than a Batman comic like Nightwing, for instance. So I just want to say that if you read comics and you want to read some good ones, definitely give some of these indies a shot because they are definitely killing it right now. If you haven't already got your copy of Berserker from Boom Studios, you're going to definitely want to get in on that ASAP. From what I've heard, I haven't got my copies yet. I have, I think 6 or 7 covers on the way. But from what I've heard, it's amazing. It's got a great story, and it's going to be made into a movie. There's just no way around that from what I've been hearing. So definitely want to jump on that now while you still can. But that's going to be it for the news for the day. We're going to take a short break, and we'll come back, and I'm going to talk about some WandaVision. Welcome back. So, WandaVision series finale has come and gone. I personally feel it was a very good installment into the MCU. One of the best in many specific areas. For me, like for the cinematography standpoint, it was definitely at the top of the list with the way it stayed true to the effects of the era that they were doing homage to, using practical effects in the early part of the series because it deemed necessary to be authentic, and that was great. And I've said it once, I've said it many times, that the acting on the show has been nothing short of brilliant. Paul Bettany really had us with that secret cameo line. He was just excited to work with himself. On a serious note, though, he did have scenes that really did impress. The scene where he yells at Wanda about how he doesn't know who he is. Every time I watch that scene, it just gives me chills because you really believe that he doesn't know who the hell he is, and that's something that is hard to portray in my opinion. Catherine Hahn, it was Agatha all along. She playing a character who was also playing a character. So that's not easy to do. I absolutely loved her as Agatha Harkness. When Agatha revealed herself, the change into this badass, take no shit witch was really, really stunning. It was nice. I enjoyed that very much. She was chilling, and yet while being cast as the villain, which she really wasn't, still a character you can't help but like, because she's not really a villain in this show at all, really. If you look at her versus Wanda, what they did, I mean, Wanda definitely was basically torturing people mentally and psychologically for a while, and that's far worse. But, I mean, think about it. I mean, she had a song where she openly admitted killing a puppy, and we still like her. I mean, don't tell John Wick, because, he gonna come get her for that. But she was a true joy. And, this series had a lot of really talented actors and actresses that really up their game and up the ante moving forward for the MCU on quality of acting. Teyonah Parris showed her a ridiculous range. I mean, she was basically a walking era stereotype while under Wanda's control. And then the second she gets out, she's this powerful woman who stood for the right thing regardless of the personal cost. Yet another example how this show put powerful women in the forefront, and for Teyonah as a powerful black woman. I stated earlier on the podcast, in previous episodes, how proud she was to give the young black girls a role model. And Miss Paris, you definitely did let nobody down. You came and brought it and killed it. I'm really looking forward to seeing you moving forward in the MCU as more than likely Prism instead of Photon, and then more than likely eventually as the next Captain Marvel. The kids playing Billy and Tommy, Julian Hilliard and Chet Klein, they were so good on the show. They commanded so much attention on a set where there was so much talent. And they even stole some scenes. And there was an episode, the Halloween episode, where they basically narrated the whole thing, and they carried the episode, really. These kids have a real bright future if they want it. And I would really look forward to seeing them really just take off. Then you have Randall Park and Kat Dennings playing Jimmy Woo and Darcy, having them come back as the best versions of themselves. Darcy is now a doctoral astrophysics doctor. Darcy was basically a temp with little actual interest in the field last time we saw her, so that's good to see that she put all of the stuff that happened to her in Thor 1 and 2 to good use. Jimmy, we last saw him in Ant-Man. He was chasing after Paul Rudd, and now here he is kicking ass and being a magical badass. He obviously is very attentive to detail, because it looks like, I don't think he actually had Ant-Man teach him that stuff. I think he probably just watched him over and over again. And then you have the great supporting cast, David Payton, David Lengel, Amos Glick, Asif Ali, Deborah Jo Rupp, Emma Caulfield Ford, Jolene Purdy, all delivering great early work as their characters in Wanda's show. But in the final episode, they delivered performances that were they were just straight up chilling and sent these chills down my spine. Here's a little spoiler, and if you haven't seen the final episode of WandaVision, you might want to back out now, because some stuff going forward will definitely spoil some stuff. But when they were free of her control and the way they were talking to her, I mean, Deborah Jo Rupp was like, "If you won't let us go, just let us die." I mean, it was so you felt it. And then, of course, the unbelievable Elizabeth Olsen, the performance she turned in from the very start of this series to the final seconds is without a doubt some of the best acting I've seen in a long time. Fuck the MCU. I'm just talking about in television, period. And you know what? I can just hear it. Cap language. That's actually the first time I've cursed on the show. I've had guests who've cursed, but I think it's warranted, because I feel like even though she was so good, I feel like there's a stigma with the Marvel movies and TV shows now that are going to make it so she can't win. I think she should at least be nominated for Best Lead Actress in a Limited Series for the Emmys. it's kind of sad that this is not a movie, because she doesn't have a chance to win an Oscar now because of it. And it's basically a movie that was just broken up onto a TV series. So, I would love to see her come away with the lead actress Emmy. I've already started hashtag Emmy Award nominated Elizabeth Olsen, Emmy Award nominee Elizabeth Olsen. So definitely start using that, because she deserves every single accolade and all the recognition possible for how, like, there were certain scenes where when she had realizations, or when she was freaking out, or when she got angry, and the genuine fear that you could see on her face. I mean, she brought it. Like, this is her show, obviously, so, kind of expected that she'd bring it, but she brought it. And she deserves all of the recognition that can be had. And the story's not done, so there's only more that could happen, only more that we could see from her. This show was something like the MCU fans have never seen before. This episodic release schedule really gave all of us super nerds a way to just ponder and lose our minds in thought process and coming up with theories and trying to figure out every single little thing. And obviously a lot of us didn't do so well on that. Screen Rant series, pitch meeting, dropped their WandaVision pitch meeting, and Ryan George summed it up perfectly. I suggest you go check it out. I've watched it 5 or 6 times today at least. I die laughing because he hit everything on the head about how all of us were just going to do theories and they didn't come out right. And then the disappointment for what happened with Evan Peters' character. And honestly, I think we're jumping to conclusions. I think the Evans Peters character will come back. I have a feeling he might be Kython. Because what I think that necklace he had, I don't think it was necessarily just a control thing. Like, I don't think it was like just spells that made him listen to whatever she wanted. I mean, he had these powers. I wonder, how did she imbue him with those powers and control him? Well, I don't know if that's even possible. I mean, this is one of the first like dark magic installments that we've seen in the MCU, so it's hard to tell. But what if it was a way for Kython to possess him? Because, I mean, Kython, he's a elder god, so I mean, I definitely think it's possible. But that being said, I've made some predictions before the start of the series, and obviously some of them were not that hard to come up with, but a lot of people were theorizing. Obviously we all thought Mephisto was going to show up, and obviously he didn't. Kython's another one. I even had my boy Bravo came up with a theory about maybe he's Blackheart, and I definitely checked out. And then we found Kython, and we were supposed to do a live show, and then honestly I bailed because I'm horrible. But looks like we were all wrong. That being said, like I said, before the series, I did make a few predictions that were all spot on, and one theory that honestly may be the last living theory of WandaVision, because it's been accurate 100% and continues to 2 other titles. And like I said, his colors were fairly easy. Like, obviously, I said that Monica would get her powers through the interaction with Wanda. Now, not everyone who went through the Hex wall got powers. She did go through it more than anybody else, but I think she'll end up being considered one of the first mutants. I think that the reason why she was pulled in was because, we've seen now that Wanda didn't really know what happened when she created the Vision using the Mind Stone. I think the Mind Stone protected her from that when it left, kind of like wiping her memory a little bit so that she wouldn't know what happened. But I think subconsciously she knew it was wrong. So when Monica came up to the Hex wall, it sucked her in. I think that was a defense mechanism because the magic sensed that she had power or latent power, and maybe she could help. So that's my opinion on that. I mean, I think we all know she has powers now, obviously, because of the series finale. But I mean, when they did the scan and she was all white, I said that was all the energy radiating through her. That was when she went through it only twice. So I don't know. We'll see. Also, as many people easily thought, and even like Ryan George in the pitch meeting, we all knew that Agnes was Agatha Harkness all along. But still, I mean, and they did change her backstory a little bit, so we'll see how that plays out because she's not gone yet. Now, like I said, I have a theory that's still alive, and I think it's the only one left. So I predicted that Wiccan and Speed. Now, like I said, I did this before the start of the series, just from the trailers. I predicted that Wiccan and Speed would be introduced. Not too hard, right? I also said they wouldn't survive the series, and they would return in Doctor Strange 2, the Multiverse of Madness, and they will help stop Wanda from destroying the multiverse. And I also said they would later join the Young Avengers with Kate Bishop and Casey Lang moving forward. Now, initially, I'll admit that I thought this was all going to happen because Mephisto was going to reabsorb them like he did in the comics, but I didn't state that in the theory, so that's not part of it. That was just what I thought. That's how I went basing the theory off of. In the comics, Billy and Tommy Maximoff were created by Wanda and then erased from existence, and then later returned as Billy Kaplan and Tommy Shepard in the Young Avengers. So I said this back in January, so this still has time to play out because it might not be, it'll be a while before we can see how right I was with the rest of the theory, but that one, while it wasn't too hard to see that they were going to be introduced, I did know they weren't going to make it. A lot of people thought they might, because they know that Tommy and Billy end up becoming the Young Avengers, and you can see the seeds of the Young Avengers being seeded with Casey Lang, who will become Stature, more than likely, take up the mantle of the ant person for her father. Then we got Kate Bishop in the Hawkeye series that's coming to Disney Plus, and there's been some great. She looks so good as Kate Bishop. Like, when I look at the pictures, the leaked set photos, I see the comics come to life. It's so pretty. The casting is just absolutely perfect and spot on right there, for sure. Before the series finale, I predicted that Wanda would have to combine her vision and the spectral vision, or the all-white vision, so he could be reborn and survive outside the Hex. I thought it would be an all-new vision that would be cold to the kids and Wanda and leave, like in the Tom King Vision comics. Well, I mean, it didn't really happen exactly like that, obviously. Vision took care of all that with that. I mean, if you talk about that for a second, that scene with the double vision fighting each other and then going into that like meta, that whole debate about that ship, and that was beautiful because I've seen it online. I'm not taking credit for saying it like this, but that's Vision. Like, that's exactly what you expect from a Vision from the comics, especially one that didn't have his feelings, like the spectral Vision in the comics. Excuse me. And that really did. I mean, he obviously didn't go and see Wanda and the kids and be cold to them, but he did go. He did get reborn, as I said, and then he flew away like I expected. And then we also had the very last, that sad little ending with her Vision. And I'm not gonna lie, I just watched it again before I started recording this, and I was bawling again. That scene. I mean, and again, it just goes back to the acting. Paul Bettany just killed it. Like, and Elizabeth Olsen, I mean, there's not a second of screen time where these people are not dominating their field and just acting their asses off. But yeah, that's definitely something I was really happy with. And then now also Matt Shakman, the director, has said that there's a lot more of the Scarlet Witch story to be told yet, and that's going to take place in Doctor Strange 2. With the way the show ended, Wanda studying the Darkhold after a closer look at the page, I'm certain that Kython might be coming at some point. He might be the big bad for Doctor Strange 2, because initially, before all the director changed and the writers changed, the main villain for Doctor Strange 2 was going to be Nightmare. And I feel like if they just retooled it, they could definitely have it be Kython instead and it not skip a beat. But I feel like he's going to likely try to use Wanda, or some dark entity, okay, is going to try to use Wanda to destroy the reality, and that's where Doctor Strange is going to have to stop in Doctor Strange 2. So with that being said, her story's not done, so we still got some more Scarlet Witch coming through. And honestly, I was thinking about this the other day. When they had the Agatha Harkness scene where she was in the past, and her mom was using her magic. She had a blue crown. Obviously not the Scarlet Witch. What if that blue crown is like almost like a good side witch, like the good side witch, like the most powerful, and maybe that's how Billy will come back and help save it, because when he in the comics he actually becomes almost as powerful as Mom, and some even more powerful. So I could see it being like a battle between whoever's controlling Wanda, or even evil Wanda, and Billy. She's got the red crown. He's got the blue crown. They're going at it. That could be something really cool to see moving forward. And then, of course, now that WandaVision's over, next up is Falcon and the Winter Soldier in just under 2 weeks. Debut on March 19th. And it's definitely a much different show than WandaVision, from this horror, mystical, like supernatural type show to super soldiers and shields being thrown like frisbees. So that's good. I mean, I'm still really excited about that show. I feel like they're going to introduce a lot of things. Like, a lot of people are sleeping on this show. I feel like it's going to be... Like, we all thought that WandaVision was going to be the jumping off point for the mutants. I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier might be the true jumping off point. Because, I mean, you think about the connections in the comics with Wolverine and Captain America. They fought alongside each other many times. And in the most recent Wolverine Black, White, and Blood, the #1 issue, he went, they had a mission with Nick Fury and Hydra. So I really feel like when they start digging into things, because it's going to be like a buddy cop detective type drama, and they're going to have to find things, figure things out, and I feel like they're going to stumble upon like the Weapon X program. Because I feel like that would be a simple correlation between the stuff that happened with both Bucky and Steve. So, like I said, that'll be the next installment. And I have to admit, I do like the episodic release schedule. I mean, it gives us super nerds something to obsess over. I mean, I don't know about anyone else who's listening, but I obsess over everything. So this way I can pour all my obsession into a TV show that's lasting for a few months. So for me, I think that's great. I know some people don't like it, but this is just the beginning of these Disney Plus shows, and the future of the MCU is very bright. But yeah, so we're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to come back with some recommendations and a little sneak preview of what's coming up soon on Nerdtooine and a Movie Podcast. Welcome back. So, we're going to start off with some recommendations, some comic book recommendations. I'm really, really big and super into the new Star Wars High Republic stories. There's 2 separate ones going on right now in the comics. It's the Marvel Star Wars, the High Republic, and then the IDW High Republic Adventures. I have reviews for the first 2 issues of the High Republic and the first issue of the first event of the High Republic Adventures. They're on my pages. You can go take a look. The story from Kevin Scott for the High Republic one, the regular one, Marvel one, is just amazing. The new characters he's introduced, like Creve Trennis and Master Skreer, are 2 completely different characters, but both equally intriguing. Definitely looking forward to see where it goes. The artwork from Ario Anindito, Mark Morales, and Annalisa Leone, as well as the lettering from Ariana Mayer, especially in that second issue, only make the story more compelling. I really love that the first issue just kind of set up the world, and then the second issue really got into like this dark, like sci-fi horror setting, and it was really awesome. I haven't read the third one yet. I'm still waiting on that to come in, but it's definitely check it out if you can. It's the Marvel title, High Republic. And then you have the High Republic Adventures, which is an IDW release. It's a much lighter story, but equally as entertaining. It's from the point of view of like the Padawans and a Force sensitive who's on the planet they're trying to save. And it's something I don't think we've ever really seen before, because the only Padawans that we've really followed are like Anakin and, Ahsoka Tano and some of the other ones in the Clone Wars, but we didn't really focus on them. They had their own episodes here and there, but this story is literally following these kids and their brash actions as Jedi Padawan. Harvey Talib. Wow, sorry I butchered that. Rebecca Nalty and Jake Wood deliver on some truly stunning panels in the adventures. They're both great reads, and you should definitely check them out if you can. And then you got some indies now. Indie comics today are really kicking ass, in my opinion. They are definitely putting out some great content. There's the Department of Truth, which is something I haven't gotten into yet, but I'm going to start reading it as much as I can in the near future, because I've heard great things, and they've already confirmed it's going to be a TV show. Another title I haven't read yet that I've been hearing great things of is Something Is Killing the Children. And there's also a ton of great titles. I had the pleasure of reading one of my favorite comics now. It's an indie title from Image Comics called Radiant Black. Radiant Black is a new story from Kyle Higgins with art from Marcelo Costa and Becca Carey. It's seriously a story that spoke to me on such a level that it almost hurt. It's a 30-year-old failed writer who has barely started his amazing novel, having to be back in with his family. This hits a little close to home to me. I've been writing a novel for 5 years now, and I've only got a few chapters in. And I've failed at striking out on my own, had to go live with my folks. So this definitely will hit home for a lot of people. The story was a joy to read. I don't want to give too much away. In my opinion, it's a must-read, and I can't wait till that second issue hits my hands. The Radiant Black can be held up to any current run of the major comic companies. There's no question about it. This one is going to make a great movie one day if it's done right, in my opinion, thanks to the great story so far and some truly eye-popping panels. It's what happens when the poor person down their luck after chasing their dreams gets superpowers. How does that not speak to a majority of readers today? I mean, I feel like everyone has a feeling like that of not being able to do what they want, except for someone like Eric Voss, probably, because he's doing what he wants. But this is a really special one, if you ask me. And like I said, the indie comics are just as good as the majors now. It doesn't have to be superheroes either. Like titles I mentioned earlier, there's another indie that spoke to me on a real deep personal level, and it's Parallel from the Source Point Press. I actually interviewed the creator, Jason Douglas, on this podcast a few months back. Jason said in the podcast that comics are the most malleable form of media, and I have to agree. You can tell any story on it, and the Parallel is one that I'm recommending checking out. The artwork from Adam Ferris seemed to tell the story just as much as the words on the page. You can get a copy at sourcepointpress.com. You will not regret it. It's a great read. It definitely, again, spoke to me on a real personal level, and I've read it numerous times because of that. And then coming soon, thanks to the short break from Marvel shows, there'll be some interesting stuff coming up in the next few weeks. I'm going to have a whole special about pre-ordering comics. I pre-ordered a bunch of comics from different types of suppliers, from some big comic stores around the country to even some Instagram like local comic book stores, virtual comic book stores. And I feel like, as someone who had never pre-ordered comics in my life, I didn't really know what to expect, and I had a very varied experience. And I want to inform people of my experiences and what I've learned about the pre-ordering experience, and, maybe it will help you if you're interested in buying comics to get them before everyone wants them and before the prices get bloated. Right now, it seems like there is just a whole bunch of people out here just buying a ton of comics, some that are just buying them for resale purposes and not for their collections. And the results from the pre-order special might really surprise you. And that's going to be coming next week on Nerdtooine and Movie Podcast. And again, I just want to now thank everyone who listens to my show. If you haven't, subscribe, follow me on Instagram. You got just search Nerdtooine, and you're going to find me. There's no one else like that anywhere. The Nerdtooine label is definitely something I created, and you'll be able to find me that way. Or just go on Instagram at Nerdpool Reborn or Marvel 2K21 or 6 seasons in a Netflix movie. My link tree is up there. We can get it from Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you get your podcast stuff. Besides a few. I'm not on Apple Music yet. I'm working on it. But again, thank you so much. And I really enjoy doing this. I'm sorry for the delay this week. Usually you'd have this episode first thing when you wake up Sunday morning, but like I said, I just wasn't feeling it last night, and technical difficulties earlier today pushed it back, but better late than never, I guess. But once again, thank you for coming by. Tell your friends. This is Nerdpool Prime, signing off.
Why, hello! Is this Batman? No, it's old Mr. J. Guess what? This isn't a Marvel movie. You can go home and stop watching. But I'm feeling a little generous. The first person to DM Nerdpool Reborn will get a shout out on the next episode. Tell him old Mr. J sent you.